Hey everyone, today we're going to be learning about expected value. Now, we can use the probability of an event to make predictions, and we call this the expected value. It's what we expect to happen given a probability. So, we are going to make these predictions using the probabilities through proportions, which we learned about in the beginning of this school year, and you guys first learned about last year in sixth grade. So, if we look at number one, it says, 14 out of 50 customers bought a muffin at a bakery. If 100 customers visit the bakery tomorrow, how many would you expect to buy a muffin? Okay, guys, so we're making a prediction here. We are going to create a proportion. I created a template for the proportion for you. So we're just plugging in the numerators and the denominators, just like you guys did in the independent events activity. So the numerator of both of these fractions is going to be the number of customers that actually bought a muffin. And the denominator is going to be the total amount of customers that were at the bakery. So the given probability in this problem is 14 out of 15. That's the most important piece. It says 14 out of 50 customers bought a muffin. So there were 50 customers in total, and 14 of those customers bought a muffin. So I'm going to fill in my first fraction here, my first probability. Again, my numerator is the customers that bought a muffin. Well, I know 14 of those customers bought a muffin. So 14 is going to go in my numerator. Again, your denominator is always your total. In this case, it's total customers. There were a total of 50 customers in the bakery on that day. So 50 is going to go in my denominator. Okay, guys, now I'm using this probability to predict how many customers would buy a muffin out of 100. So here I said, if 100 customers visit the bakery tomorrow, that means that is the total amount of customers that we have. So 100 is going to go in my denominator. Now, I am solving for my numerator. I want to know, out of those 100 customers, how many of those bought a muffin? We don't know, guys. That's what we're doing. That's the expected value here. That's what we're trying to figure out. So I have an unknown in my numerator. And remember, in math, when we have an unknown, we use a variable. I'm just going to put the variable x. Okay, and I always told you guys, whenever we use a variable, we always want to do a let statement where you write let x equal customers. For the sake of this, if you guys forget to write your let statement, that's fine. I'm not going to take off any points. Okay, now I need to solve this proportion. Recall, we solve proportions by cross multiplication, which means we are going to be multiplying diagonally across this equal sign. So some of your teachers and I did in the beginning, they refer to as the butterfly method, because when we do that diagonal cross multiplication, it kind of looks like a butterfly. So I'm first going to be multiplying 14 times 100. Okay. So 14 times 100 is 1400 or 1400. Okay. Then I'm going to be multiplying 50 times x. All right. So I'm actually going to write that first. 50 times x gives us 50x. Bring down your equal sign. And then again, 14 times 100 gives us 1,400. All right, guys, and remember, now we're solving a one-step equation, which you all were pros at in our equations unit. So remember, when we're solving an equation, our goal is to get that variable x all by itself on one side of the equal sign. We do so by using our inverse operations or our opposite operations. So right now that x is being multiplied by 50. I want to get rid of that times 50. The opposite of multiplying something by 50 is dividing by 50. So I'm going to be dividing by 50 on both sides of my equal sign. Okay, guys, and I know this is kind of hard to show on Google Slides, so just try your best with it. But to show that I'm dividing, I'm simply going to highlight the 50x and hit the underline button so it looks like a fraction. And then on my next line, I'll write 50. Tab over and write 50 again to show that I'm dividing by 50 on both sides. Okay, now I'm going to clean this up. 50x divided by 50 is just x. Bring down your equal sign. 1,400 divided by 50 is 28. Okay, so I just solved my equation. X equals 28. That's the number that will go in my numerator. So what that means is, to answer our question, I would expect 28 people to buy a muffin. All right. So out of 100 customers, 28 of those customers will be buying a muffin. And we figure that out by using the original probability that we were given. Okay, let's do another one. Number 2, again, we have 14 out of 50 customers bought a muffin at a bakery. If 200 customers visit the bakery tomorrow, how many would you expect to buy a muffin? Okay, guys, first step, fill in this first fraction. That is the probability that I give you. That is the one where I give you both a numerator and a denominator. So whichever one comes first is going to be my numerator, and whichever one comes second is going to be my denominator. So in this case, our denominators are total customers. We again have 50 customers in total. Our numerator is the amount of customers that bought a muffin. In this case, only 14 customers bought a muffin. So my first fraction should be 14 over 50. Okay, now I need to create my second probability or my second fraction over here. So it says if 200 customers visit the bakery tomorrow, so that tells me my total amount of customers is going to be 200. So 200 goes into my denominator. Okay, I am solving for my numerator. Out of those 200 people, how many should we expect to buy a muffin? So again, I'm going to use the variable x because that is my unknown. That's what I'm solving for. Now, in order to solve this, I have to cross multiply. So I'm going to be multiplying diagonally across the equal sign. So I'm first going to multiply 50 times x. So 50 times x is 50x. Bring down your equal sign. Then I'm going to multiply 14 times 200. 14 times 200 is 2,800. Okay. Now I need to solve this equation down here. Again, I got to get this x all by itself. Got to do the opposite of what I see. The x right now is being multiplied by 50. I got to do the opposite. The opposite of multiplying by 50 is dividing. So again, I'm going to underline this just to show that I'm dividing. If you guys forget to do this, that's okay. Divide by 50 on both sides. Okay, now clean this up. 50x divided by 50 is x. Bring down your equal sign. 2,800 divided by 50 is 56. So we just solved our equation. X is equal to 56. So what does that mean? Well, I always like to write my final answer in a sentence. This means I would expect 56 people out of 200 people to buy a muffin. Okay, let's do another one. Number 3 says 20 out of 50 customers bought a bagel at a bakery. If 100 customers visit the bakery tomorrow, how many would you expect to buy a bagel? Okay, got to set up our proportion here. So our first fraction again, guys, is the probability that I gave you. I told you 20 out of 50 customers are buying a bagel. So there are a total of 50 customers, and out of those 50, 20 bought a bagel. So 20 is in my numerator and 50 is in my denominator. Okay, now I'm going to come to my second ratio or my second fraction or my second probability. The only other number I gave you was the total amount of customers. I told you there were 100 customers in total. I want to know out of those 100 customers, how many would we expect to buy a bagel? Again, I don't know what my numerator is going to be, so I'm going to stick in a variable, x. Okay, now I'm going to cross multiply. I'm first going to multiply 50 times x. Okay, and 50 times x is 50x. Bring down your equal sign. Then I'm going to multiply 20 times 100, which is 2,000. Okay, now I need to solve for x, and in order to do that, I simply have to divide by 50 on both sides of the equal sign. Oops. Okay, clean this up. 50x divided by 50 is just x. Bring down your equal sign, and 2,000 divided by 50 is 40. Okay, so we solve for x. So our final answer would be I would expect 40 people out of 100 to buy a bagel. All right. All right. So what I would like you guys to do now is to complete questions 5 through 12 on your own. Okay. You're simply going to set up the proportions just like we did, cross multiply to determine the value of your variable. The work should look very similar to mine, guys. If you forget to underline, that's okay, but please try to write down as much work as possible. And don't forget to write what your variable is equal to. All right, guys, if you have any questions at all, please, as always, don't hesitate to ask.